The game of Zen explores the often overlooked ways in which professional, personal, and spiritual growth are interrelated. We dive deep into the life teachings of the Buddha and the mindfulness practices of Zen, revealing how they can help us dramatically expand our possibilities for wholehearted work, life, and play.
Hello and welcome to a new episode of the Game of Zen podcast. My name is Scott Berman, checking in from Philadelphia, PA, and I'm here with my good friend and Zen master Paul. What's new out there in Boulder? How you doing?
Hey Scott, good to see you. I'm doing pretty well. I've been sick and injured for most of the month actually of October. But I'm on the mend now, feeling a lot better, and we're on Halloween today. So the teenagers are doing their kind of ironic costumery for today. And I also just remembered that it's the day when the veil between the living and the dead is the thinnest. So it is, who knows what might happen tonight.
There's so many interesting stories and theories about Halloween, and one of these days we'll talk about it more. But so I have a Halloween costume on right now. I'm dressed as a stat keeper for the Sixers. So that's going to be it's been my costume for a long time. Got a game tonight. It's basketball season here in Philly. So we're getting a little excited about that. Thanks everyone for joining us today. We appreciate it. And today we're going to talk about one of Paul's recent newsletters about not enoughness and insufficiency. And a lot of the times, this is what causes our suffering. And so, Paul, I like how you talk about different categories and ways that we might be suffering from this. And so you have time, money, people, information, energy, and attention. So love to hear more about how insufficiency applies to these things.
Yeah, well, it's kind of developed for me, as I studied myself in the Buddhist way. And, the fundamental first noble truth of Buddhism is that we experience life as insufficiency, dukkha, the word dukkha. We've talked about this in previous podcasts. So it's the sense of not enoughness. But then I kind of, asked myself, well, what is it that I don't feel I have enough of? And I notice how, sometimes it's different things. So I felt I feel like it's really helpful to kind of identify what is it that I feel I don't have enough at any given time, to really investigate whether in fact I do have enough. There's I think the obvious, the loudest voice that comes to me most of the time is I don't have enough time or I don't have enough money. Right? These are the kind of the things that weigh on me at the real surface level. But of course our culture is very much kind of driven by this kind of time money duopoly, if you will. Everybody wants more time and everybody wants more money. Mm-hmm. And probably most people feel they don't have enough time and don't have enough money. So there's this kind of obsession with those things. But underneath that is these other resources that I think we have to work with. I think if we work with these other resources, then it kind of unlocks our neurotic obsession with not having enough time or money. And those other resources are people, information, energy, and attention. So that's kind of the landscape that opened up for me, is to work with these other resources in order to really unlock the insufficiency around time and money.
I think it's super interesting to think about time and money together too, because what do I want to spend my time on in order to make money? But also, I don't want to spend all my time making money. I want to have time with my family and friends and having fun as well. So there's all this balance between work and fun that we have to do in our lives. But I want to dig into time first a little bit more, because it seems like I think about this literally every day. We only have 24 hours every day, and we only have a certain amount of days to be here. And we're lucky if we're healthy and we're well. And I'm glad you're feeling better, by the way. And
Thanks.
but how can you be happy with whatever time you've spent today, knowing that you didn't get everything done? This is something that I go through a lot. I have a long to-do list of things that I want to do and I need to do. I never get through everything. So how do you then, stay grounded even though you're not finishing all your to-dos?
Well, so right in there is this kind of real, what I call an adversarial relationship with time, right? So yes, in one dimension, the linear chronological dimension, we have limited time. So a second is a second is a second, and we only have so many, minutes and hours in every day. So that's true, but it's not the whole picture. It's not the whole picture. Um, and if we're totally focused on that, we're just going to get into a time deficit no matter what, because everything takes longer than we think it's going to take. We don't properly schedule or boundary our time, so it never ends up working. I don't know if I've mentioned on the podcast, but Oliver Burkeman's book 4,000 Weeks is a brilliant examination of our relationship to time and productivity, and how no productivity protocol ever really works, because it's based on what I call an adversarial relationship with time. Okay. What the path is, that I'm recommending, is that we really also appreciate fully the qualitative dimension of time, and that depth and the focus that you give to your subject, the qualitative quality of presence and attention that you bring, is actually more important than that linear dimension of time. So 5 minutes done in deep work is much more effective than 60 minutes spent in a distracted and distracted kind of way, or confused kind of way. So when we bring that into the equation, that starts to point the way towards how to work with resource insufficiency.
I think a lot about the time of our lives too, and how many days we actually have. That's, I guess, the 4,000 weeks is about, which is fascinating. I got to write that one down. But I think about it also, I want to have as few bad days as possible. And this is where the practice comes in with meditation and mindfulness and reading and learning and, exercise and all the things that I like to do to make my days meaningful and make sure that I'm not wasting time. My least favorite thing, I think, in this world is traffic, because it's a colossal waste of time sitting in traffic. But then again, I'm in the car, I'll listen to a podcast and I'll make the time worth it. But the point is that every day is precious, and we have to focus on every day and not worry about the future or the past, because it's one less day. The Pink Floyd line, one day shorter of breath, one day closer to death. It's kind of a morbid line, but it's true. So I think that's really important. And now when you tie it into money, actually, it's like you can't take money with you in the end, but you need money while you're here. So how does that play into the suffering as well?
Yeah, well, you said something at the beginning, which is you don't want to have any bad days, right? Okay, right. So that's the cause of your suffering right there.
Okay.
What's a bad day?
A day with not with health issues, I would think, is a bad day, or when someone I care about has a health problem. That's number one. Certainly, business. There's difficult days. There's better days than others. Okay. Being an entrepreneur and a startup, so that's for sure. But that's really it. I think for me, is really the health is number one.
Okay, and then I also heard there, it's like a day where you aren't wasting time, right? That, like, a bad day is you're not making the most of your time, something like that, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So a key Zen teaching comes from a Zen koan, is every day is a good day. Every day is a good day. Master Uman said this. Every day is a good day. So can we really look at our life that way? Every day is a good day. That means that a day where you feel bad, your health is bad, That's also a good day. A day where you have a business setback, that's also a good day. A day where you waste time, I'm putting that in air quotes, where you waste time, which just means that you didn't get as much done as you would have liked to have gotten done. Okay, that's also a good day. All right. So this is the attitude to bring now. Every day is a good day. So that means, how do we work with this? So that means we go into all of these feelings. Okay. So feel the illness, feel the sickness, feel the disappointment of the business setback, feel the fact that you're in the car. Okay. And then make the most of the time that you're in your car. The only thing that makes it bad is your idea. Your
Right.
idea of how things should be, how you want things to be. So those very ideas are what's creating your sense of a bad day or your sense of insufficiency.
Wow, that was brilliant. I love that. I'm going to have to listen back to that one for sure. So you also, in your newsletter, quote a story from Zen Master Ikyu about attention. So what part of what you're saying is based on what you're putting your attention on, that could help with your sense of not enoughness.
Yeah, exactly. And I want to reinforce the thing I just said, which is that, so the sense of resource insufficiency is coming from this gap between, your idea of things and how they really are. Okay. So now we're going to get to attention. So attention is the one resource. I listed the 6 resources at the beginning, but it's the one that you actually have the most control over. Okay? Because it's your native ability to pay attention. Now, meditation is a training in attention. You could say it is that. It's much more than that, but at the base, it's that. And the story that you're alluding to it's a real famous story from Master Ikyu is his name. And he was approached by actually a businessman in town. This is, Tang Dynasty, China, but there were merchants and successful business people. And he came in, he's like, I've heard a lot about Zen, I want to learn it. Like a lot of people actually who come to me for Zen training, to be more successful, in their life. To lead teams and to do better in business and all of this. And it's a valid thing to ask. So he said, so what is it about Zen? So Master Ikyu said, attention. That's the most important thing in Zen, attention. And the guy was very disappointed. It's like, what do you mean attention? I want you to give me wisdom here. I don't want you to tell me to use attention. He said, tell me more. And he goes, okay, I'll tell you more. It's attention, attention. In some versions of the story, he asks him a third time, and he actually says attention, attention, attention. So, but in any case, he kind of gets up and he leaves in a huff. He's like, I wanted something more than that. But actually, this gets right to the heart of how, the Dharma, the Buddhist Dharma, Buddhist practice can help us be fully present and more successful, is to really work with our attention. What we pay attention to is what we're putting energy into, and it's what grows. So if we put our attention into our perceived lack of resource, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, oh my God, we're actually feeding a very, you could say neurotic, but certainly, kind of activated, charged feeling that you have about your own resources. And that's what's focused, and that's what's going to grow. You're going to feel more and more dissatisfied the more you dwell on it in that way. Okay. So now work with your attention and bring your attention not to what you're lacking, but bring your attention to what you have.
Right.
If you bring your attention to what you have, that's going to grow.
Yeah. That's very interesting. And I was thinking about information and energy as well, and how much attention to give to information. First, let's start there. And I have a problem with information. I love it so much, and I think I overdo it a lot. I like news. We talked about this last time about watching too much news and television and things like that. But also, information leads to money.
Yep.
Especially when you're in business, right? And energy leads to money, but that also takes up time. So I think that every day is a series of decisions of how much information I'm going to intake, and how much energy I'm going to give towards this podcast, that work meeting, the Sixer game, right? So that's all a big balance, isn't it?
It is all a big balance, but you also are well served by opening yourself up to new channels of input, for these things, right? So information is a good example here. So we have our ideas about where we get our information from. It could be newspapers, it can be studies, it can be white papers, it could be business, market analyses, things like this. But actually, there's a lot of information that comes in through our intuitive senses and through our body, which, in today's world, we don't necessarily, we're not tuned in to those things. But this is why meditation practice is, within your meditation, you're tuning in to sources of information that are coming to you through your intuitive consciousness and through your body in new ways. So I teach a way of addressing yourself to business problems in the form of Zen koans, or Zen, Zen inquiries. Is you see what your body and what how your intuition answers the question, not, the way that the white paper said.
Right.
Okay. So again, I want you turn towards what you have in terms of information, not like, oh, I need to go out and get this from outside. It's the same with energy too, right? When we sit, oftentimes we're not even tuned in to our basic energy. We expect we're going to get it from our caffeine fix, and then from our lunch and our workout and all of this stuff. Yes, those are sources of energy, but most of us are actually kind of repressing or suppressing some internal sources of energy. And that's why when we actually do a meditation practice, it energizes us, because we're tapping into our basic levels of chi within our body.
I also think the meditation, as you maybe do it longer or have more practice at it, you think about a lot of those things on this list here. You do think about the energy. What I sometimes, when I'm coming out of a meditation, I think about the day ahead. I like to do it in the morning a lot. I think, okay, the rest of the day today, I got this, and this to do. This is where I'm going to put my energy on today. And I find that when I have a good session in the morning, it helps me manage my time better during the day.
Yeah.
And I think more about what's meaningful today, what I want to accomplish, and who I want to call, and what emails I want to send. But if I just jump right into the computer and start working, maybe it doesn't go as smoothly.
Do you have this experience, Scott, where when you do that, you have a good strong meditation, and then you're facing the day with some, equanimity and clarity, you kind of look back on a more neurotic way, and you're like, wow, I was so neurotic about that yesterday, for example. This is just, I was making a mountain out of a molehill on this particular thing. Do you experience that?
Absolutely. And not only that day to day, but also when you look at like way back, 2, 3, 4 years ago, and you think, man, I was so stressed out about X. And it turns out that was a waste of time being stressed out about X.
Yeah.
And so getting back to that for a second, I do think that a lot of folks, and we all do it, we do waste valuable brain activity on worrying and stress about things that never come to pass.
Yeah,
I think that, right? And that's also something that I've tried to get better at. We can't worry, and we also worry about things that happened in the past, which is a waste of time. I think a lot of the time. So I think that the more you focus on this, and this is why I love the simplicity of Zen. That story was really great, and I this is one thing I love about it, is it's a big meaning with a very simple message for that meaning, right? And so it's very easy to understand and apply it. That's what I like about it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I want to shift for a minute onto people, because this is another thing that comes up every day. And people could mean, how much time you spend with person, what phone calls you're going to make, what meetings you're going to schedule. And I have this theory. I love people. I love having more people, making new friends, and so much. But there's also not that much time in every day, and I can't possibly be in touch with as many people as I would like. So, how do I feel like happy? It's back to the same thing. Just happy with the people that you were interacted with today, and then try and get to more people tomorrow. Is that the way you look at it?
Yeah, it's to make the most of the contact that you do have. That's kind of the first thing I'm talking about, is really recognize what you do have and make the most of it. So have your contact and your relationships be deep and rich and intimate, to the extent that that's what you want in your life. But it's also to, you can have them present in your circle of awareness even when they're not physically present. Okay, so it's not just about, oh, are they present physically with me right now? No. um, your relations and your colleagues are always present.
Yeah.
They're always present in your life, right? But are they present in your awareness? Are they present in your heart? We get very close minded and get very focused on, the here and now and the physical world right in front of us. But unlocking this sort of sense of resource deficiency actually means to open up that sphere of awareness, that sphere of holding and presence and concern, that they're there too. They're still here even when they're not with us.
Yeah.
So that, you can do that. Now this takes, in a way, it takes some practice, to be able to do this, because we tend to be so laser focused on what is right in front of us, and we kind of cut those things out. So it takes some practice to kind of be able to hold those things, in a sense, in the back burner while you are, paying full attention to the task at hand. But it's the benefit is that you don't feel lonely.
Yeah.
With respect to people, you're not lonely because you're actually connected to them, even when they're not around.
I have this. I have this thing about people too, where when I'm around certain people, and I'm grateful for a lot of close friends
Mm.
in this world, and when I'm with my good friends, let's say I'm at Red Rocks at a string cheese concert, right, and I got 20 friends standing around me dancing and the music, I feel energy, a lot of energy, and that energy kind of lasts me even after I come back home. And so I've noticed over the years that there's certain people in my life that when I spend time with them, that gives me great energy. And I really value that. And I try and, replicate that as much as possible. Or as you said, though, I think about these people or I call them or whatever. And so I think that's really important to have a circle of people, friends and family, that give you energy that you want to spend your time with.
Yeah.
Back to time being, not infinite. It's like you want to spend time with quality people. And that's really important. I know you have like a whole house full of people all the time. So you must get a lot of energy from that too, right?
I do. And, for the first part of my adulthood, I didn't, I lived alone for the most part. And now I've got, the five step kids and day friends and girlfriends and all of that. And not to mention five animals. Yeah. So yeah, I draw and a lot of energy from that, and it is very important. It's very important. And you and I have both been, company founders, entrepreneurs, solopreneurs in various seasons of our life. So there is a lot of potential isolation, to be plugging away and doing your own thing. But you're always embedded in a network of colleagues and clients and partners, even if you don't have a boss. And if you have bosses, then you have that too. So it's really important to maintain those relationships and those connections, peer groups and colleagues, to really support those networks of relationships as consciously as you can. It doesn't have to be all day, every day.
Right.
But it has to be, the depth of the relationship has to be there. and you have to maintain consciousness and care around that.
Yeah. And I also think it's good to have both situations. So I'm the opposite of you. I have no kids and no pets here, just me.
Yeah.
And but I also make sure I get out a lot because I
Mm-hmm.
love being alone and quiet. And I have some days when I just hang out here or take a hike at the park, and I don't really do much with people. But then I can't do that all the time because I need and love people. And
Yeah.
so I try and mix it up. But back to the insufficiency thing, whatever happens with people, I'm always thinking it's enough. Yeah, I would love to have more time with my friends and more time. But then if I don't, it's okay. I'm happy with being myself, being by myself too.
Yeah.
I think that's also an important thing that you try and be, right? Just be happy either way.
It is to be happy either way, but it's also to acknowledge the feeling of the feeling of I'm going to say deficiency or lack. Let's call it lack that you may be feeling. And this goes back to the point about every day is a good day, right? That you don't want to feel bad. So the important thing that I do want to say here is that yes, you want to find what you do have available with respect to time and people and energy and information. You do want to tune into that, but you also want to really feel and appreciate when you do have a feeling that you don't have enough, right? I
Right.
mean, not enoughness is a thing.
Yes.
Right? So a lot of our difficulty is created by our efforts and strategies not to feel that insufficiency. Okay. And so we get all neurotic about it, and
Yeah.
in some cases, we deny it. I mean, a lot of times we can go to the bottle to not feel lonely,
Right.
right?
Right.
There's a classic. I say, okay, I'm not lonely anymore.
Right.
Well, why? Just so what I want to say here is it's really important to feel that sense of insufficiency. And that might even be money too. Feel, God darn it, I really do need some more money to pay those bills. Feel that sense of um, lack, right? Feel the loneliness. If you're wanting connection, if you want people, feel the loneliness. Okay, don't let it debilitate you. Actually, have it motivate you. That's the thing. And a lot of our motivation comes, I don't want to feel this way. Okay, so but then we tend to have adverse ways that we try to not feel that way. What
Hmm.
what you want it is you want it to be okay. I want to feel, say, more connection. So, okay, I'm gonna nourish the connections that I have, and I'm gonna find new connections to nourish. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, that comes with practice, right? I mean, that's how we get past that. Because I feel like my goal every day is to get better at everything I do,
Hmm.
and I always feel like I could always get better. But I've over the years, as I've gotten older, I'm okay with not getting to the top or not being. I have to be okay with it because otherwise, I'll just keep reaching for a higher level. I find this sometimes with very successful people who are super duper wealthy, but they just keep making more and more money
Yeah.
for some reason. And I never really understand that. And some of these people are deeply unhappy
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
their lives outside of work because that's
Yeah.
the whole definition of happiness is having the most money. And I find that
Yeah.
sad.
Yeah. Me too. Me too.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of people, have been motivated by that their whole life. I mean, a lot of us are our financial success and our sense of accomplishment and achievement, our own sense of self-worth is very much tied into that. So, so very successful people are not immune to that type of hook. So, it's work, for they will be more happy, when they get off the achievement treadmill or the hedonic treadmill or the accomplishment treadmill, which all of
Yeah.
us are on. Is kind of built into our egoic structures to
Yeah.
be on that. But the point that will never bring happiness.
Yeah.
What will bring happiness is becoming, really being true to yourself in the sense of your own vulnerability and your own intrinsic worthiness.
Yeah. That sounds like great advice that you give to your coaching clients who are successful entrepreneurs and business people, and they might have a lot of stuff figured out with work, but then they need this added dimension.
Yep. Yeah, I do. I work with a lot of high functioning, very successful people who know that they've got some kind of a hook inside that they really want to relieve, and it's great work. Yeah, it's great work.
I want to close out with a quote and ask you to think about this for a second. You talk a lot about values and vows, and you mentioned that if you're disconnected from inspired vows, if you've lost your religion, you are bound to find yourself frequently enmeshed in the sticky web of too much and not enough.
Yeah.
So how do you close out with that thought?
Yeah, I just say, if we make it all about our own personal satisfaction, achievement, accomplishment, we're always going to get wrapped up in, that kind of dynamic of not enoughness. When we open up to a bigger world, a bigger life, a bigger aspiration, that's what allows us to actually embrace not enoughness, suffering, things not going our way, because it's in this bigger context. It's like, okay, well, things aren't going, my way today. Big whoop.
Right.
There's bigger matters at hand here.
Right.
So to be centered in those bigger questions, right? Actually, that's the way to be happy, actually.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic, Paul. And I actually hope the Sixers have enough points against the Celtics tonight. It's not enough, in basketball the last couple of years in this town, but we'll see what happens.
That's right. Well, that's what the game of Zen is all about, right? In normal games, there's winners and losers, but in the game of Zen,
it's all about attention.
There we go.
All right. Awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Paul. And thanks everyone for listening. And please, I highly recommend the Zen Shift newsletter on Substack, and reach out to Paul for coaching. And we will see you all real soon with a new episode. Thanks for tuning in.
Good to see you, Scott. Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on this exploration into Zen Buddhism and its transformative influence on work and life. We hope you'll subscribe, share, and comment wherever you get your podcasts. May your journey be one of continuous growth and mindful living. From all of us here at Game of Zen, wishing you peace and prosperity on your path ahead.